topic I'm thinking about today, and I was going to say it has nothing to do with it being the solstice, but it might actually have brought that to mind because I think of solstice and I think of prehistoric stone circles, especially in Britain. And so I was watching a program, a British program, for quite a while called Time Team. It ran for 20 years, and I didn't watch it at the time because it was a British program, and I'm in the U.S. But I think when I first was seeing it was on PBS in the U.S., a public broadcast service, because they carry a lot of British programming, a lot of things off the BBC, and but I did after that, when I got my Wi-Fi and my little tablet here, like I have, well, actually, I had a bigger tablet before it burned out, and then the one after that burned out, and the one after that burned out. Yeah, we don't want to go into that right now. Excuse me. So anyway, I found that you could locate some of these things on YouTube, and I was interested in that. So um, I watched a lot of those, and what if you haven't ever seen it, there's a group of archaeologists who go to some site, some interesting site where they may or may not know very much about it, and they take a weekend to do a short dig, a small, what they generally call test pits, to see what they can find there. And being in Britain, they would look for Roman remains from time to time, but they also looked for uh, pre-Roman things, and well, that would be Stone Age kind of things, and a lot of things from that age would have decayed. Some leather might be left here and there, but excuse me again. But wood and things like that aren't going to last. So what they were mostly doing was looking into the landscape and digging and seeing the differences in the texture and color of soils. And there are a lot of what they came up with, a lot of ditches and banks where there were settlements, and there were ditches and banks around them. And I remember now, they may have other theories by now because these shows ran from for 20 years, as I said, but they ended in 2014. So you're going back a ways to the early ones. But they seem to always be wondering about some of those ditch and bank configurations, that they weren't defensive, weren't really very good defensive constructs against other people, warring tribes, as the kind of common phrase. And it always amazed me, kind of, I guess, that the people who were theorizing didn't think about all those really, really big animals wandering around, and that animals tend to take the path of least resistance, like herd animals. So you're going to build a house, and you don't want a great big elk walking through it. Um, and so you might make a bank and a ditch to divert the animal traffic around your settlement. Um, I think some people don't realize just how big animals are. Um, there aren't that many places where you could have safely set up a settlement and not be at risk to get stomped on. Now, I'm not talking here about, being deliberately attacked by wild cats or bears or anything like that, but just, gosh, I don't know, like in the U.S., if you had a herd of buffalo, even a very small herd of buffalo, come through, it could be a really, really devastating experience. Um, so yeah, I think a lot of archaeologists don't think about animals. They think about hunting the animals. they think about kill sites or things like that, making spears and arrows and going out and hunting the big beast for food. But they don't think about all the big beasts wandering around, undirected, not herded. I think a consequence of growing up in a civilized country where your cattle are all neatly penned up and they're kind of a lot smaller than they used to be when they were aurochs. Um, so I think they don't really get the concept of what large wandering animals, what you might have to do to, excuse me, really having an issue with that today. What you might have to do to deal with living in an environment that was full of large wandering animals. And it's interesting. I've seen some reports from that black bears are wandering around New Jersey now and causing all sorts of distress in the regular suburban neighborhoods, some upscale suburban neighborhoods with black bears coming through their yards. And people are, quite reasonably upset by that. And so, there you go. That's why somebody might decide to put a bank and ditch around their property so that the bears would just kind of do and take the path of least resistance, and not bother to climb down and climb up, and they're just like, oh, I'll just go around this. So yeah, I mean, even deer. I think people complain a lot about deer coming into their gardens and eating stuff, but most of those people aren't subsistence. If deer comes through and eats their garden, it's no big deal to go to the supermarket. But if that garden is all you had and the deer comes through and eats your garden, you got a problem. Um, yeah, so anyway, that's my thought for the day, is something that's been in the back of my mind again, like the other thing that I was mentioning there about the caves in Nepal, of like, I'm thinking about this and I'm wondering why other people aren't thinking about it, and maybe I'm just not sufficiently educated in that department, because I did major in animal science, not archaeology. I just took one anthropology course. So anyway, hope y'all have fun and happy solstice. Bye-bye.